All right, welcome back. It is Wednesday, my dudes. 1st of September, 2021. Rough way to start the month. P&L not looking pretty good. Only traded one ticker today. We'll get into that a little bit. The first housekeeping, of course, as always. SPY, again, a little bit of neutral day. Trading pretty similar to how I feel this monster of the S&P 500 normally trades on this day. Pretty low volume. The VIX is still around 16, I think, still at this point. So decent little volatility, but just not insane anything right now. Market internals for dollar volume. NASDAQ still just right under that $200 billion volume mark. Nice see. Trading around the same. OTCs barely touching about $3 billion. We're seeing a little bit of dollar volume coming to the over-the-counter market there, which is pretty exciting to see. Other housekeeping are starting off before getting into the charts. Watchlist coming into today, mainly focused on BBIG, of course, and GSAT as well. So just, I'll get into GSAT later. Thinking about those, BBIG especially too. Oh my gosh. Before, obviously in the title, it shows ABVC was my only trade today, but then of course, BBIG was going to be my number one, and then ABVC eventually started showing up, and I was watching ABVC from the moment it popped up on the scanner until from it when it was trading 70 trades on the day total. I was still watching at that point. But also I was looking at TCAT and Zila. I knew it was a slow mover. It just kind of came off my watch just because I knew the fact that even though it had this pretty sharp move yesterday, this thing is just a slower mover, and there was better opportunities out there to take my attention for the day. ABVC obviously came up on the radar, then PXLW was another one that had a pretty nice day yesterday, but just roll over, faded off, kind of fell today. Nice daily on that one too. I think this is a bit of a lower floater as well that gained some interest, 48 million float. But yeah, in this parabolic move on the daily. I also added this freaking idiot, and I kind of just found it randomly sometimes in the past in my trading of, okay, this stock is short sale restricted on different factors like that. And I don't think I even really understood what that meant, but I was just like, oh, okay, it's short sale restricted. Now there's more attention to it. But now adding this indicator on to my Thinkorswim, that Thinkorswim doesn't have that for some reason. They can't do that, but using the ThinkScript, copy and paste in somebody else's code online, I was able to put that in there. So I think it's going to be a huge benefit coming into understanding when a stock is now hit that circuit breaker, when that rule comes into effect, how that affects other tickers and chart patterns intraday, similar to like ABVC today. It's interesting that it had a 10% drop at one point the previous trading day when it was really doing absolutely nothing, and now coming into today, then you get even more craziness into today. So we'll see if that does anything. I'm glad I found that now and just continually opening myself up more and more to pretty much things that I thought should be basic. Now looking back on it, that I realized I didn't have that. I'm like, you freaking idiot. Why didn't you have that? But also going into sleep factor for me. Oh my gosh. So I normally I'm in bed every single night at 10 and getting that 7 hours of sleep each night if I can. If I'm not getting up earlier than that is huge. And I mean, it should be considered normal as that 7-hour mark, but still for me too, I know my body, man, I just crave so much more. My body needs, I could sleep literally till 9 o'clock every single day from 10 o'clock, almost 12 hours every single day. My body would absolutely love that. But of course, it's hard with my food delivery stuff that I'm doing now and everything on the side to supplement this kind of trading journey at this point. So just different factors lining up on whether or not I really want to cut down on the nighttime and maybe start getting into bed around 8:30 or 9 o'clock, whatever around that point, so I can just add a few more hours on the back end rather than trying to cut into pre-market time that way. But the opportunity cost of that too, with the money I'm getting from that side stuff and other different, but I'm playing with it. But anyway, I'm getting into, as I came into today, of course, it's just every single day I'm always carrying that little bit of tiredness, fatigue. And after I had stopped myself out 3 different times, I was pretty much done really soon after market open. And then I knew I was definitely done for the rest of the day trading. And that kind of gave me the opportunity to actually fully commit 100%, get in the bed and take a super long, I think it was 30-40 minutes that I was taking that nap. And I tell you what, I've not been more refreshed or more emotionally prepared and aware of myself after that nap than I've ever been in a super, super long time, especially starting this training journey. I'm remembering within a few weeks, of course, that's just what my mental attention span is really, but golly, that sleep is just absolutely huge. And I know that's going to be huge for me. It's just my mental health, especially because that's really everything this is, and how the sleep affects the stress levels, my ability to respond to those stress levels, the mental space and the learning aspect of that too. Oh my gosh, it's so important. I think that either a midday nap has got to be not only just a huge thing for me. Been doing that in the past of committing, a little bit of time to maybe taking some nappage, but also now upping my game in that to say, God, I need to be hard 100% committed to say, okay, I'm going into bed, I'm putting on the blanket, I'm doing all the things that I would normally do for bedtime, right? Instead of how I would normally just, I'll just go kind of lay on the couch and close my eyes and maybe look at my phone every once in a while and convince myself I was napping, but in reality, I really wasn't doing that. So sleep is going to be a big factor going forward as well. Talked about the SSR and then so for this loss today as well too, I think going forward, I don't want to limit myself go all the way down to the Bryce Tui mentality of how he was of the $2 risk. I think I did that for a while originally, very early on, and continue that very well. Just focusing on, hey, I just want to get the trades, taking a max of $100 position size and just totally limiting myself to sticking to the trade plan, doing all those things, bada bing, bada boom. But there is that level for me that I felt I was just firing off the hip so much more at that point because that money sting or just I put it in the words of the thrill of being in the fight wasn't really there. And I don't feel that I was 100% there mentally. And you have to find that balance, right? Because I can't be doing not as much of what I was doing today, but I obviously was tipping the scale forward so far today that I got to that point where position size became so far leaning to the end of that red line that now it becomes negative effect on me versus just trading a one share size and just really kind of feeling nothing when I take a 50% loss and that's a $2 loss. The equation of how that works out in the end really doesn't mesh well what I think with how my brain is to perceive that. So gosh, I don't want to be taking more and more days like this, of course, but I also think that I do have to have a little bit of skin in the game and have to take that sting in order to understand, hey, I don't want to be doing this. And that's because if putting it into perspective again of I love Chris Cady and how he put it, I think he actually learned that from his mentor too of if you're in a red streak, you need to be trading more. Obviously size the way the heck down, but you need to get in the freaking arena over and over and over and over and over again. And there's other aspects of that too of, okay, maybe at this point you need a break, or maybe you need to be doing something else just to clear your head, get a better perspective, take time away, clear your head, come back with fresh mind. But then the perspective too of, man, if you're trying to get better at pull-ups, how do you think you're going to get better at pull-ups if you're not doing pull-ups? Just dealing with all those realities and truths of what is going to be the best line for me going forward. So all that's going to correlate to, I think there's going to be now a max intraday ticker position size total, I think is the right way to combine those words. So like I traded on ABVC that I'll get into a little bit more. This is a super long-winded intro, but so I think it's going to be like $500 seems like a good size for me to say that is the maximum amount of position size in total intraday that I'm willing to put into one specific ticker. So for instance, I can take one trade at a position size of $500. But then if I get stopped out on that, I can't get back in again. So now dealing with the probability factor with that in my head, that now limits me to say, okay, I think, the potential for this one to go from this point here is maybe 60%. So I'll take, equating that to $500 is that 350. So I can take a $350 position size in that case. And if I get stopped out, then okay, whatever. If it eventually comes back and offers another similar opportunity or a different opportunity that I see that I want to play in as well too, then I still have another $150 to play into that for that max position size intraday of $500. So I think that's going to be a rule going forward for me rather than limiting myself to, I can only trade one share of this and I can only have a $2 risk on this one. I really don't think that's worked well for me in the past of getting the most amount of learning, especially on the emotional side of this, because yes, you can learn the charts, you can learn the patterns, we can see all these different indicators, but at the end of the day, it's really the emotional side of it that's going to be the biggest thing. And that's continually the biggest thing that I'm going through as well. And I think continually with each of these red days, man, I'm building that callus on the mind a lot quicker than I would have hoped to be, but it certainly is there. And I think that's that plan going forward, I think is going to be the best one. So gosh, let's get into the charts now. We got through everything else. ABVC was the only ticker I traded on the day. Yeah, watching this thing from when it was right here at this point, it had 70 trades, thinking, okay, that's just stupid. No volume, no percentage move to the upside, it's whatever. But then I saw it's still on that scanner that I have for the morning dumpers. It kept rising, kept tracking volume, more and more trades passing through, failing to ever really crack VWAP. You got this continual nice push to the upside, then huge consolidation, bullish flag-ish, if you want to call it that point, but just super wicky, buyers and sellers fighting it out here in the pre-market. I was kind of expecting it to actually keep going and running from here. I wasn't going to be a part of it because, again, my attention was still on BBIG and GSET as well too. But I eventually did crack after that little quick high of day test and flash down. And at this point, tier 2, I've seen it so many times with these failed morning dumps that I call them, that the sign of the crack of VWAP is will bring in a lot of attention from the short side, because now they're thinking, okay, downside's in. This thing is this is 50% move, 3 to 4, 5, yeah, perfect 50%. There's got to be at least a little 10% downside on this one, because that's what I'm looking for on a morning dump. I'm really not playing it for a full day fade. I'm just thinking, hey, there's a good entry point here. It's confirming that the downside is some amount of downside is potentially in. Let's hop into it. Wasn't looking at it as that, because I've learned better and I've strayed a little bit away from that pattern, because it's just not been working out lately, even though this is a super sketchy biotech, American biotech, float of 8.7 million. I would say reported short interest on this one. The news catalyst was PCT filing for MDD and ADHD treatments. Whatever that means. Again, it's a super sketchy biotech. Not a lot of history as well too, so I was thinking on this one that there isn't a lot of overhead comparatively on this day. Don't know what happened there. Just super sketchy, illegitimate, but you get this nice, just super nice pump to the upside in the pre-market. And I'm looking for a stutter step here under VWAP, and then a quick test and new high. Whether it hit a new high of day or not, I was looking to sell pretty much right around this point, just for a quick trade at 2 here. So this was a 200 share position, as it's failing to continue to panic after what I would consider the point of no return, to think, man, if there's any buyers still speculating on this point, trying to trade off this bull flag, especially looking for more upside into the market open, they are now trying to panic because price action is not helping them. But of course, we did end up breaking a new low a day here, just super short and quickly. That did stop me out, cutting losses quickly. So this, to start it off, was a $10 loss, really nothing big. And just, I still had all my mental capital pretty much at that point too, thinking, okay, I don't want to be a part of the panic, because I've traded that while I was short, and I absolutely love it as a short, but as a long, I definitely don't want to be a part of it. But it failed to break and crack from there, and then pulled a little bit of strength here too as well. Continued, dumped a little bit more, but still was just holding around this VWAP, just coming back and coming closer. Eventually, I wanted to get another position, as it was putting in a little bit of a higher low here, 415. We started trending closer to VWAP, so I got 422, I think I actually got, for another 200 share position size on that one. Thinking again, maybe I really didn't even want to be in it at market open, thinking I'm just looking for a quick either high of day test or break to the upside, just quick trend, definitely above VWAP, and then sell or liquidate when we get to that point. But of course, it just didn't fail to actually crack above VWAP. We broke more downside, had a new local low of day here in this pre-market. It just bounced around. As we now get into market hours, okay, we get a quick, this $4 whole dollar area is here, and a line of demarcation, I guess. We get a dip there, and I'm watching it with open-ish eyes, not really expecting to try and play a dip and rip. Definitely not going to trade it within the first few minutes. I'm going to let it find its way, do what it wants to do. But of course, watching it on the level 2, seeing, hey, is this $4 level going to hold? It breaks a little bit, but then still gets bought up pretty quickly right after that. So then the pattern gets to be put in as I'm watching within this 1 minute candle, of course, trading it on the tick or looking at it on the tick. This whole time I'm watching it, I'm going, okay, this could be a good entry point here. We got a new market hours high day. Okay, we're coming closer to VWAP here. This could be this little consolidation area here. That could be a new solid entry point to try and get in. If we start spiking immediately from the get-go, that could be an entry point. And I'm watching it continually kind of just press to the upside and kicking myself each time too, because I didn't want to chase it and I didn't want to force it because I've already been in this thing 2 times before, and especially within the first few minutes of market open, that's where all the beginners are getting in and it can really do whatever it wants to do without any rhyme or reason. And then see we crack below VWAP, but then quickly rebuild again. And I'm thinking, gosh, this could be another good entry point. Creates another new market high a day at that point. And then at this point, the motions, I'm really out of cash, I think, at that point. After the second trade, from BBIG was really the first candle on BBIG that I'll show a little bit later too, just totally faded. And my mentality with that one was, okay, I think the shorts are going to win it that day. And I wasn't going to short it. So I was just going to let it go do whatever it wanted to do. So then I kind of mentality shifted. Okay, so now I have more cash to trade on ABVC. I think this one has plenty of upsides, super low float, first day runner, continually testing shorts. And with this short sale restricted indicator, I didn't realize it at the time. This is obviously after the close that I put this on. But coming from yesterday too, as a SSR is applied, it still would carry over to today, because for some reason this was perfectly a 10% drop from the day before. So really don't know if that had any factor in it at all. But somehow, some way, there is definitely overhead in this one because, man, as we're holding higher above VWAP, I'm thinking we are going to get a quick rise to this pre-market high, break through that, just nail some shorts to the upside. And this is going to be a quick, sweet, nice move. And getting a little bit emotional, playing off of the fact that I've been confident in this one twice before and got stupidly stopped out on this one. So now then I have to, because I'm pretty much out of cash, I got to switch over to my shorting account, my day trade account, and use up a day trade, and then fell into the lie once again on that one that, oh, because you're using up a day trade, you should use a larger position size because then you're not wasting a day trade in a sense. So you shouldn't use a small position size when you're using a day trade because you only get 3 of those, right? That's a lie that I subsequently fall into. So sized up to freaking 400 share position here at this point, set a stop at 4.2, and pretty much was just like, hey, it's in God's hands, man. I just stepping away from the computer at this point, going, if she dies, she dies. Just a total chase at this point, not a solid trading plan. Whereas compared to here, that would have been a solid trading plan. Trading off of this $4 hold or even getting in anywhere here, it's not really a chase at that point. Or buying off of the VWAP hold here, that would have been a far better risk reward opportunity. I would have seen a higher probability that it probably would have fallen, and I don't think I would have gotten a position there. But man, just total chase and total ego involved in the trade, thinking, man, that it's, this has almost got to happen at this point. It's going to happen. I was just so totally convicted that I knew in the back of my head, there's always that voice there too that, hey, be wary of the long trap. You've been in that situation before where you just got absolutely smoked, that this thing just dropped down. And as you can see, it happened multiple times on the sticker today. But of course, it just did it pretty much immediately right after my entry. And confusing still to me, I put in a stop through trade 0 at 4.2, which is also kind of far. It's obvious that other people had their stops at VWAP because we're getting the speed up of the tape right at the point of VWAP. So maybe I should have, could have, would have had it there at that point. If I'm just going to be a sheep like everybody else, man, I should put my stops there, same thing. So I put my stop at 4.2 and we trade immediately below 4.2, and now we're almost close to testing $4, and I'm still in the trade going, what the heck? Why didn't my order get filled? Just confusion and not me realizing, okay, I had it at 4.2 for some reason, thinking that I could possibly get filled if it panicked that hard. In hindsight now, I wasn't realizing or even thinking about it at that point, but now I'm even more panicky, thinking, okay, gotta get out right now, panicking for the exit, having to take that exit at 4.07. Luckily that it just didn't absolutely dump off of the entire planet in a nosedive to a halt, which is very fortunate. But reclaimed, failed to put in a new low a day. Again, tried to test this little relative market hours high and then hard dump off, but failed to break this $4 area. Perfectly bounced off of that once again. continued to bring in more and more longs. You actually get the full breakout, and this one I actually watched live as well. I think I was still pacing around the house at this point after my exit. You get the actual breakout to new high of day and then just quick rejection at this point. And then the final trend for the day, the nail in the coffin, was put in pretty much right here at this point. We're under VWAP, new low of day. A little bit of consolidation maybe would have made. Just gave you hot feet as you're sitting there short in a position like this one, if you're establishing a position anywhere around here, but still had a full day fade to play off as well. Great learning lesson. I don't think if things, of course, had gone a little bit differently, I wouldn't have gotten this lesson today too. So I'm thankful in that regard that I did learn that lesson, because if this one had worked out and I was rewarded with a little bit of a win, or if it just went absolutely stupid parabolic for the low float that it is, and I did get rewarded on a super stupid position size chase, I could see myself getting into a situation like this again in the future. And maybe potentially I don't get saved by the bell, or don't get saved by a fake breakdown, and it just gets absolutely wiped off the planet, and my stop is even worse for some reason, and it comes at an even bigger loss. So I'm thankful for the loss today, and thankful for the fact too that I mentioned like in the intro that, man, I got out so soon and so early after market open that, okay, an app sounds pretty good right now of doing it that way. So in total, yeah, that was $180. So 140 on this one. That should have been 70 from my stupid chase and pretty much top fill at 440 here. Trying to get out at 4.2 with my stop. Ended up taking 4.4. So pretty much should have been half of that loss on this one. This was like a $30 loss here. On this point, just tough. And this is going into the factor I also mentioned in the intro for the new, at least for now, until I establish a higher, better hit rate on all these trades, just maxing out my intraday position size per ticker at $500. So that was that. ABVC. BBIG, of course. This is a chart for the ages. And I was so surprised watching Small Cap Recap with Monaco that he wasn't all over this one. I would have thought that him and Tui and everybody and their grandma would have been nailing this trade with 100% certainty. So we got this, of course, from yesterday. This one was on the watch list, and I was going back and watching that one. I was potentially looking at this one as an overnight, and I think a lot of other people were as well, too, for how strongly it closed from failing on this, what should have been a dumping day. We had this little parabolic move, and it really failed to just really go red as a first red day. Didn't have any hard moves in this pre-market, just kind of held and consolidated well. If you try to get long early, which I don't really see as a bad move either, looking at this consolidation above VWAP, it could have gotten squeezy, potentially, in my opinion, in pre-market. And imagine the run-up it could have had with no halts, with just the panic of what pre-market is. You could have had that, but it ended up fading, actually, and you had to take the paper cut there at this point. And then, so I mentioned with ABVC, is that the ticker? Yeah, ABVC, that I in the first minute when I saw this hard, pure red candle just sell off, I was like, oh, okay, it's done. You know, the shorts are winning. It'll maybe shoot around, scoot around, do whatever, but I just really don't want a part of it. So then I put my full attention on ABVC, where in reality, looking back at this chart now in review, and this is why I love to do these reviews, this couldn't be a more perfect example of the short squeeze setup. So now we've got shorts that are bagged from yesterday, already in a panic mode, if they're still holding this because of the nice run up into the close it had yesterday. With a combination of, now it's still short sale restricted. We've also got the perfect dump immediately out of the open. And as a short, then you're thinking, because Jack number 2 as well, he was looking to short this one hard. Not hard, but he was looking to play it to the short side because it biased that way, obviously, and it's got to roll over at some point, right? This isn't a super low float to begin with, but Wall Street Bets is coming in on this one. So always got to be leery, always got to be wary, because they can move some markets. But you get a perfect dump to lure in the shorts within the first minute, who are going to chase it and say, oh, here's the move. It's just going to happen. It's going to dump immediately from here. I want to be in on this thing. It could panic so hard. Then they immediately get reversed all the way back to VWAP with huge liquidity. Just under $3 billion volume today. That's absolutely ludicrous. 1.3 million trades. Immediate reversal all the way back to VWAP. You get a little toppy red candle here that fails to continue on, which if I was looking at this one as a long, trying to play off of any bounce here, I would have been a little weary, but if getting a position here wouldn't have broken entry price, you still would have been a little bit comfortable. Maybe potentially this red candle stops me out here, but still curling well. You still have candles and plenty of opportunity and liquidity, like I mentioned, with the 1.3 million trades. Absolutely ridiculous. Still get that curling action here, just still indecisive, top wiki, bottom wiki action. Bottom wiki actually here on this candle, continuing to push higher, higher, higher until it gets to an awesome halt. First one, 644 to 947 at that one. And of course, I think I was out of ABVC at this point, and then I turned the chart back over to BBIG and going, are you kidding me? That was just absolutely ridiculous. And then you get another halt immediately after that, within 2-minute candles here, all the way to above $11. Oh, geez, that would have been an awesome, awesome long. I could absolutely see myself potentially, I hate to speculate, but absolutely establishing a position here, looking to sell because 10% would have been right around this level, but then you see the tape speeding up rapidly, selling into at least some of the strength here. Then you get the nice halt to potentially liquidate a little bit more. Nice continuation gap up after the halt. Just continues to rocket shorts to the upside, and then you get a strong downside being put in to let you know, hey, this trend is over as of right now. Trading on the short side potentially for that sell-off, but again, it's choppy here too, and I think a few halts on the downside as well, yeah. So, but just awesome, awesome chart to keep in the books. This was, reviewing this, that was the perfect, not perfect, potentially like an A rating for just the little tiny wicks as a long, but the little sell-off here to bring in more shorts, just the quick squirt back up to VWAP, you get the rejection. Looking back at it too, as a long, that was even more of an indication, even more of a help to bring in a few more shorts or give them a little bit of strength to say, oh, okay, it failed. It failed to break a new even pre-market high. This thing is definitely going to die. That was all the morning spike there is. And then just slam them to the upside, man. Oh, what a chart. I totally missed, but that is trading. Other tickers around the horn. AMC had that nice level. It was looking like it was going to be a factor again. Of course, coming on this little cupish pattern here, this high of 48, around that area here. Looked decent in the after hours as well, but then we just full solid tank today. Tough to see. FUC first day, not actually first day, just recent IPO, I think it is, runner mover. Huge, 281% day today. It's an American scientific smart instrumentation platform and device. Oh, just whatever, super low float, 15 million. And a 424B4 put out today after the close as well, which will be interesting to see what it wants to do. They 2 million shares of common stock at $5 per share. Wow, ludicrous. FCUV, that was SPRT as well. Of course, the other similar runner to BBIG. Looking for potentially a short on this one today. I wasn't looking at a short, but just keeping that in mind of, hey, this could be, the downside is in on this one. Pre-market is looking pretty weak. And of course, it did have a nice slow fade the whole day. This 10% block here, 29 to 25 plus, 10% plus block right away in the morning session if you're cutting there, but still playing the full day fade on that one. I think it closes potentially a little bit weaker even. Comes back down maybe more to the 10 level at some point, or continues to go crazy. Let's hope for craziness, right? So that was all I had around the market. Watchlist coming into tomorrow. Of course, TCAT did some choppy, nice things. Had a pretty nice day yesterday as well, too. This is the NFT sector leader. That's what I want there. Coming up on this, curling back up again after this little peak it had. We need to see a lot more volume coming in, especially, too, because comparing to the volume that was put in on these days, we need something strong to begin to push it, to test these technical levels here as well too, or lead the whole. It's got to lead the whole sector as well too, which is a lot of weight on one shoulder to try and push this thing. I think Mark Crook is actually swinging this as well too, so I'll keep an eye on it. especially if volume wants to come in as well too. I'll definitely be in it to the upside. SPRT BG. For some reason, I kept this one on watch just because of the huge volume that came in. I remember this one a little bit as a former runner. It's a familiar ticker. But again, it's just in such a bad downtrend. I forget the news of why it was in this downtrend to begin with, or the huge sell-off on this day. Notice of delisting or failing to set on the 31st. So I think that was the reason for that sell-off. But huge volume day today. Man, I'd love to play off of that volume solely, not because of the stock or any news whatsoever, but more volume comes in for some reason. Definitely could have potential to the upside. Halted hugely to the upside here. Total of a 53% up day on the day. And panic dip by potential on MTRT. OTC runners, again, like I said, they're gaining some dollar volume, of course, on that scanner. Now putting in some nice percentage moves. 557 percentage moves to the upside today, going pretty much supernova. Monaco thinks this one has a little bit more upside potentially in it. Maybe tomorrow, or I'll certainly be looking for a panic dip buy. It's got to come down a huge percentage. We're hoping for a good panic at some point soon, especially with this decent amount of volume that's being put in. Not just 3 million. No, not that. We want technical difficulties. Yeah, so just under $8 million volume on that one today. So, we want to see more, of course, to get that pure, absolutely pure panic dip buy, but totally got to keep it on watch to see if, especially if OTCs start coming around more. And that was all I had. 31 minutes coming in again on the video time frame. I thank you guys so much again for watching. Man, this trading journey is absolutely crazy. It is so easy for me to just get so downtrodden and beaten up with every single one of these days. Of course, starting off another month in the red with just a big smack in the face. And I certainly take it as a blessing, like I mentioned with ABVC. If I hadn't had this lesson today of just that hard hit to the jaw, man, what could have been more cockiness developing in me because I kind of lucked out of it. I definitely would have been a nice profit day if I had lucked out and it had gone kind of parabolic or shot to a new high of day on ABVC. And I would have potentially continued to keep doing that with more and more tickers, especially as we're getting a few more listed percentage movers coming out more and more. I'm glad for this lesson because I certainly didn't expect it, certainly didn't want it, but that's what I forced myself into. And totally, yeah, this thing of trading is just so crazy too, because I compare it to like an actor or somebody who has to deal with that rejection, like a Sylvester Stallone trying to put out the first Rocky. Came to mind when I was doing something else too, of how many times he was told no, or just whatever story of how many times they're told no until they just need that one yes. And but it's like in the case of an actor, but it's external. It's not like trading, whereas you're the one in control. It's not like you can say, well, it's, that person just didn't like me. They didn't want me in that movie, or that movie wasn't necessarily the best fit for me. We'll try something else. We just need one. Right. Yes. Well, compared to trading, whereas no, you're the one who put yourself in that situation and you're the one who gave yourself that loss, and dealing with that complex in your head of, okay, am I the one at fault here, or am I just doing is the market out to get me, or am I just bad at dealing with the market? So I absolutely love it though. This vehicle is so crazy and so fascinating every single day. And I'm still so inspired every single day because even through all these losses of just how it's shaping me emotionally as well to make me a better human every single day. I 100% love it. And I'm so excited. This is kind of, this will bleed a little bit more. This day will bleed a little bit more into the monthly recap that I think I'll do over the weekend. So kind of taint some of my view of what I did in August just because it's so fresh on the mind. We'll see what happens tomorrow and Friday before I get to do that one. But just going to keep strict to it. Just going to keep defining myself every single day, not by the P&L, but by what the trade plan is, and understand being able to come back and review it. I love being able to do these videos and forcing myself to look at them once again. And I can even feel myself as I'm in the trading day too, thinking, man, I'm seeing more of this because I know I want to talk about it later. I want to have more things to talk about in the video. I want to be looking at every single aspect of this And that just gets me more and more inspired too with each and every single day, because now I'm trying to soak in more information, and now I'm retaining more information as well too, because I know, man, I have a reason to retain this information and I can learn about it. That's just speeding up the learning process so much more every single day too. So I absolutely love it. Huge rant today. I thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I'm not absolutely clouding the YouTube servers with all my freaking videos I'm putting up, but whatever. Screw them. Thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys tomorrow.